don't think I can get any taller, unfortunately. This is pretty much it. Nothing to the doctors tonight.
Martha's coming to the doctors? Martha, you look like...
It's Sunday, she said.
Yeah. Good evening, welcome to the October 18th meeting of the Lowell License Commission. Secretary Wynn, was the meeting posted?
Yes.
Number 1 on the agenda, please.
With respect to the minutes of the meeting of September 27, 2018.
Move for approval by Commissioner Krieger, seconded by Commissioner Donahue. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, the motion carries. Next, please.
Proceeding with number 1, applications for special one-day license to dispense wines only, starting with Paul F. Lappin for an event at the Paula Memorial Library at 401 Merrimack Street, the Moses Greeley Parker Lecture, the Honorable Michael Ponsor, whose Justice in the American Character, for Thursday, October 25th, 2018, from 5:30 p.m. to 9 p.m. Also, we have Ann Brady of the Ale Lofts Art Gallery, 172 Middle Street, an art reception for Saturday, December 1, 2018, from 4 p.m. to 7 p.m.
Okay, we have both applicants to the lectern, please. State your name for the record, please.
Paul Lappin.
Hi, Paul, how are you?
Very well, thank you.
Good. Just step aside and let Ann introduce herself.
Hi, I'm Ann Brady.
Hi, Ann, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good. Paul and Ann, have both of you held these licenses in the past?
No,
You have not. Paul, have you? Do you understand your responsibilities holding this license?
yes,
You do. Any questions for this board or Secretary Wynn?
no.
No. Questions, comments on the board?
Move approval.
Move for approval by Commissioner McCarthy, second by Commissioner Krieger. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries. Good luck with your events.
Proceeding with the number 2 on our meeting agenda, we have applications for special one-day license for all alcoholic beverages. Mark Claremont of the Miracle Providers Northeast for events at the Onyx Room at the Western Ave Studios at 122 Western Ave. Glitz and Glam Charity Cabaret shows. First show will be on Friday, November 9th, 2018, from 7 p.m. to 11:30 p.m. And the second show is Saturday, November 10th, 2018, from 7 p.m. to 11:30 p.m. Roberta Barnes of the Lowell Catholic High School for an event at the Lowell Catholic High School Gymnasium at 530 Stephen Street. Laughs for LC, a fundraiser comedy night. That's Friday, November 30th, 2018, from 7 p.m. to 10 p.m.
Both of you state your name for the record, please.
Mark Claremont.
How are you, Mark?
Great, how are you?
Good.
Roberta Barnes.
Hi, Roberta.
Hi.
How are you?
Good, thanks.
Good. Mark, what's going on?
Our annual biggest cabaret show that we do that raises funds for the children impacted by HIV and AIDS. We have about 210 children right now that just requested gifts, and we do the cabaret to raise some funds.
You do good work, Mark.
Thank you.
Roberta, tell us about your event, please.
Last year, we did a comedy night fundraiser in trying to raise money for Lowell Catholic. We had it at Mount Pleasant, and we had to turn people away, so this year we decided to have it on campus.
You turned people away because Commissioner McCarthy was one of the comedians, or?
Exactly,
Okay,
right.
I can understand that.
So, yeah. Yeah, we had a maximum of, I think it was 180,
Okay.
and then we got a big turnout, so.
Good for you, good
So
for
we
you.
thought we'd have it on campus, yeah.
Excellent. Questions, comments on the board? Move for approval by Commissioner House, seconded by Commissioner Donahue. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Great. Good luck with your events.
Thank you.
Proceeding with number 3, we have applications for special one-day license to sell, dispense malt beverages, wine only, or either one. Starting with Alex Gianella for an event at UTEC, 35 Warren Street, the Underground Rhyme Poetry Showcase for Friday, October 26, 2018, 7 p.m. to 12 midnight. And Paul Bereford of the Beowulf Brewery, LLC, for an event at Mill Number 5, 250 Jackson Street, the 4th floor. This is the Vinyl Destination 5th Anniversary Celebration, scheduled for Saturday, November 10th, 2018, from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m.
Gentlemen, state your name for the records.
Alex Giolinella.
Hi, Alex, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good.
Paul Bareford?
Hi, Paul, how are you?
Excellent.
Very well. Either one of you gentlemen held these licenses before?
No.
You have not. Do you have any questions for this board? Do you understand your responsibilities holding this license?
I understand the responsibilities are spoken with Ryan.
Very good. Alex?
I understand as well, and I do not have any questions.
Very well. Questions or comments from the board? Move approval by Commissioner McCarthy, seconded by Commissioner Howe. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries. Gentlemen, good luck with your events.
Thank you.
Following which, we have application for a special, an application for a special events permit for amplified outdoor public entertainment. On behalf of Frederick Smith, we have Ally Smith, the Smith Fest events, amplified sound for the Halloween 5K at Shed Park for Saturday, November 3rd, 2018, from 4 p.m. to 10 p.m. at Shed Park.
Just state your name for the record.
Alice Smith.
How are you?
Good, and you?
Very good. Same as every year over there?
Yes, sir.
Captain LaFerrier, have any objections to this license?
No issues.
Thank you very much. Questions or comments from the board? Move for approval by Commissioner Krieger, seconded by Commissioner Donahue. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries. Good luck with your event. You do a
Thank you
good
so
job
much.
over there.
And for
Thank you
those
very
that do not realize it, Lanny Eman withdrew her application for the Health Department.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Proceeding with number 5 on our meeting agenda, we have a public hearing on the application by Valerie Georgigoulopoulos, who owns the business Sophia's Greek Pantry North. She's applying for a malt beverage and wine only package store license for the premises at 479 Market Street. Mr. Chairman, this is a public hearing for public comment.
Good evening. State your name for the record.
Valerie Georgigoulopoulos.
Valerie, how are you tonight?
Just fine.
You have some nice letters of reference here tonight, I see. Tell us what your plans are for success in multi-million-dollar business.
Sure, I have a Greek market, and everyone's been asking me for beer and wine. So I plan on, if possible, to provide them with Greek beer and wine in the store. That's pretty much it. Just specialty, nothing American, strictly imported.
How's the store going? How you guys doing?
It's pretty good so far.
Not too bad?
Yeah, it's been about 2.5 years now.
Very good.
Yeah.
Very good. Questions, comments from the board, please?
It's the best.
Make sure,
Regularly there. It's a great spot.
Ryan, make sure you put that on the record, the Commissioner Donahue. All
I
right?
need to say something. They have the best yogurt. It's amazing.
Thank you.
Move approval.
It's a hit.
It's a public hearing first. At this time, we'll open up the public hearing. Anybody like to speak in opposition? 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 Hearing no one, that portion of the public hearing is closed. At this time, I'd like to open up the public hearing. Everybody like to speak in favor? In favor? In favor? Favor? Hearing no one, that portion of the public hearing is closed. What is the wish of the board? Move approval by Commissioner McCarthy, seconded by Commissioner Krieger. All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. I want to wish you the best of luck.
Thank you
Okay?
very much.
You're welcome.
Good luck.
Valerie, just for your information, the Alcohol Beverages Control Commission will also have to approve this application.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Wynn.
Thank you. You as well.
Commission will now proceed with the backside of our meeting agenda, which is number 6, is the next agenda item. This is a matter on hearing on the matter of illegalities in violation of Mass General Law, Chapter 140, Sections 58, 59, 62, 66, 69, as recorded in communications from the Massachusetts Department of State Police regarding Charles E. Byrne doing business as Bay State Auto Sales, Class 2 licensee at used car dealer, license number 391-B, B as in Brian, for premises at rear 418-420 Chelmsford Street. Mr. Chairman, we have Trooper Charles Luis also here.
Thank you. Mr. Byrne, Counselor Forsley, approach the lectern, please. State your name for the record, sir.
Victor Forsley, 20 Hurd Street, Lowell, Massachusetts. I'm the attorney for Mr. Byrne and Bay State Auto Sales.
Good evening. Before we bring up the trooper for his testimony, the floor is yours, Counselor.
Thank you. Well, Mr. Byrne has been distressed over this matter for a significant period of time. We don't even know why we're here tonight. The last thing we encountered was a hearing with the Registry of Motor Vehicles in Lawrence, Massachusetts that took place approximately 2 hours. And at that particular time, the two agents of the state, two state troopers, Mr. Fiandaca and, Mr. Fiandaca led the hearing. And at the end of the hearing, we signed a document stating that we would be in compliance with the request of the hearing officers. Now, we left there and with an understanding that everything was fine as long as we abided by the document which they drew up and which we read and signed. In the interim, I guess it was Trooper Louise, he went back to the site and says there's still some more work we have to do. But our position is this is not a matter for your board. As handsome as you are and helpful as you are, this is a matter between Mr. Byrne or Bay State Auto Sales and the state, subject to the rules and regulations of the Registry of Motor Vehicles that gives an appellant an opportunity to be heard. And then if the hearing ends up where there's no agreement, it goes to another set of circumstances at the Registry of Motor Vehicles. It's nothing that the board, I can see you being informed, but I can't see you taking any action on this until the Registry of Motor Vehicles finishes, because there's evidentiary hearings there, and there's a conclusion that they're going to reach as to whether or not Bay State Auto Sales and Mr. Burns is in violation of Chapter 90, 17 and a half, 64B, and all the rest of it. Now, to take that position and then have Trooper Louise there, I saw him walk in, I says, oh, he looks familiar. I don't understand why he's even here tonight. I have no idea why he's here, because the matter is still between the Registry of Motor Vehicles and Mr. Byrne. There's nothing before this board as far as the running of his business is concerned. He's been running his business for 44 years consecutively. Never had a customer complaint, never had anybody who complained about a poor car. Never complained about anything. But now, someone made a complaint, and now the Registry of Motor Vehicles is involved. Now, I don't know why they're trying to involve you yet, or even if they should involve you, unless they can show that he, in fact, after due process, we've heard a lot about that lately, after due process and the hearings that he's entitled to at the Registry of Motor Vehicles, and the agreement that we entered into that he would be in compliance and they would approve it. This matter still at the registry as far as we're concerned, and we find ourselves here tonight. Now, you all got a letter, and in the letter it's talking about things that may happen in the future. He may be in violation in the future of new regulation. That's outrageous. That's putting him in a position of being behind the 8 ball before he's even had an opportunity to meet the suggested recommendations of the Registry of Motor Vehicles. Now, there's something here that I find onerous as far as Mr. Byrne is concerned. He's being asked by the registry to do this, and as long as you do it, you'll be fine. And then now we have a hearing before you people. I don't know why we're here. Can someone explain that to me?
Assistant City Solicitor Grasser, concerning Councilor Forsley's remarks that this should go in front of the registry before it comes to the license board. What's your reply to him?
Well, I do understand that there is a proceeding that's going on at the state level, but under the General Law, Chapter 140, Section 59, the local commission does have authority to take action to revoke a license if there's violations found. I do recognize that there may be some concerns about if this board were to take a particular action, that there could be some sort of conflict with whatever action takes place at the state level. I understand that there's been some sort of memorandum of understanding that's been reached. I haven't reviewed that myself. I don't know that a copy has been provided to the commission. So I don't fully know exactly what the status is at the state level at this point.
Say that again to me. A memo of understanding that you don't have, or we don't have? What's the memo of understanding?
Well, I think Councilor Forsley mentioned that there was a memorandum of understanding that was reached between this business and the Registry of Motor Vehicles as part of the hearing that took place there.
And what transpired from that, Councilor?
What transpired from that, I think it was the officer here went to the premises, talked to Mr. and Mrs. Byrne about it, and then the next thing we know, as far as I was concerned, and from what he was telling me, everything was fine, and then he comes up with a new set of requirements, and some of the new set of requirements is in the second page of the letter you all have that I was happy to get from Mr. Ryan because Mr. Ryan, Mr. Wynn, so I could at least prepare myself for this evening, but I don't know why we're here yet. There's something pending before the registry. My brother indicates chapter 140, section 39. It says, he said it, if violations found. Right now, there's no violations found anywhere. We're in the process of determining violations, if there are any. And that's what I don't understand.
Okay.
Thank you.
State Trooper.
I'm going to object to the state trooper's testimony. As far as I'm concerned, we went there, we signed an agreement, he's aware of that, and that the agreement has been complied with. There's no violations found as of this point, and they're working on working it out. If you don't accept that argument, what you're saying is, okay, even if negotiations are going on to determine blame or liability, we can still find you in violation. That's what we're saying right now.
All right, your concerns are duly noted, Counselor.
Thank you.
State Trooper, you hit the lectern, please. And just state your name for the record, please.
Charles Luis.
How are you tonight, State Trooper?
Good, sir.
I got to read the second page, so if any of the other commissioners have any questions to begin with, I'd be more than happy to give them. Commissioner Donahue.
I have a question of Attorney Forsley. Mr. Forsley, do you recognize that, probably I was on the board, we issued a license for 2017. This board issued a license to allow him to have a used car lot
In 2017?
for the year, and 2018, I'm sorry.
Yes, I'm
Yeah.
aware of that, yeah.
We've issued and you're saying we don't have a right now to review that application and circumstances that have come to our attention and revoke the license that we issued, that this body issued?
Yes, I don't dispute that at all. I
Okay.
dispute the fact that we're here and there's no conclusions reached by the state because we haven't had any subsequent hearings to determine liability of violations. This is out in the open. There's nothing here before you. He's not going to come up and say you did this and you did that because they're working it out, Mr. Donahue. I do recognize your authority, of course.
Well, what I'm saying is that we have been made aware of certain allegations, and being residents of the city, we've had an opportunity to look at the property.
Yeah, right.
And what we've seen, what I've seen, I will speak for myself, is there's no used car lot there.
Well, that's,
According to what I understand, is a requirement to have a used car lot, have cars, have an office.
yeah.
And I went around that building on a couple of occasions, and I wasn't seeing anything that made me think that I could go in and look for a second car.
In all due respect, Mr. Donahue, and I had no reason to doubt your word one bit, having known you all these years. All right? You went there on a particular day? I mean, any day. You went there on a particular day and you viewed the premises. Did you go the next day? Did you go a week later?
I did.
Well, that's okay. But that's okay, that's your own observation. Now, whether or not that meets the standards set by you or by the Registry of Motor Vehicles is still to be determined.
Mr. Forsley, how many cars are in the parking lot for sale right now?
Let me see. There's one car.
Where is that located, that car? Where is the car located?
Where is the car?
You took it home today? Okay, where was it yesterday? All right, where on Chelmsford Street? The corner of the front of the plaza or in the back lot? It wasn't there. I was there yesterday. And I also inside the liquor store that supposedly you have an office that is located in there.
I don't have, excuse me.
You're,
I don't have an office inside the liquor store.
where is your office?
I have pictures of it, if you would like to see it, please. I've been asking somebody to come up and see the place.
These have all been made.
Your entryway is where? Through the liquor store or the back door of the lot? Yeah, sure, approach. You may. Go ahead. Yeah, come on.
Okay, go ahead.
Mr. Forsley, I have a question. Have you visited the lot?
Oh, yes, yeah.
What have you seen on the lot?
It's clean.
In the same way since I was
got
25 years old.
a car there.
I've been here.
It's a very quiet lot.
Very
So
quiet.
if I go through this door,
I also visited on 3 occasions, and there's no cars there.
Let me
Very
answer
quiet.
that question, Chair. I've been badgered since August about this, between the registry and between the city.
Well,
you can pass these around, then go to the lectern, we'll give these back to you. How's that?
I'm really getting tired of this.
Mr. Chairman, I would just like to make note of the fact that I don't think it's badgering when we're looking at someone that made an application to run a business, and we don't see that there's a business there. We're doing due diligence, I think.
Counselor, is this the door to the office?
I believe it is, yes.
Have you been up to see this?
Yeah, I was in the office, in fact.
You were?
Absolutely. It's right at the corner of the package store. I make it a absolute habit from my experience on the zoning board to go out and view all the premises so that you can answer the way you're answering from personal knowledge. Yeah.
Okay,
I suppose we all look at things differently, though.
the trooper has made a visit here, so we're going to let him speak. Briefly, State Trooper, can you tell us first, how did you get to Lowell and learn about Base Day Auto, and what did you find when you got there?
So initially, there was an anonymous complaint
Yep.
that Mr. Byrne was illegally using 2 dealer plates, him and his wife.
Okay.
Now, if he was doing everything right, I would have walked in and did my inspection, been on my way, and that would have been the end of it. But as you can see from the first hearing, the one that he had got brought to the registry on, they were closed 3 attempts, they failed everything miserably. They went to the registry, they met with the RMV inspectors or for the hearings officers. They signed a memorandum of agreement that they would comply with all the regulations. So 30 days later, I'm supposed to go back and re-inspect. So I went back on 2 occasions, the place was closed, no one was around, during the business hours that are posted on the door. The 3rd time I went there during lunch, so I hung around. His wife did show up, and then he showed up shortly thereafter. After my inspection the 2nd time, What I observed was there's no lemon laws, used car warranty stickers affixed to the vehicles. He had maintained no repair records, and there was no separation between the business of his used car lot as far as the Subway store and the liquor store next door. So I explained what was wrong, and I would give him 30 days. Rather than bring him back to the registry, I'd give him 30 days to fix that. But speaking with him and going through his used car record book, the number one thing in a used car dealer is you have to be principally substantially engaged in business. His used car record book shows he's only sold 1 car this year, 2 cars last year, 4 cars the year before. So Section 5 issues are separate from licensing issues. His dealer plates, it's a different story. So I said he's got to make a decision. That's why I'm not trying to hold these regulations that were signed in March against him. However, you cannot renew your licenses in January unless you meet the new requirements. One is you maintain 30 hours a week business, and also you have 100 square feet office space. So he'd have to either get an office trailer or a new office, as well as put up his separation, maintain his repair records, post his used car lemon laws, the stuff that he was currently in violation of. So I asked Section 5 to reissue an inspection after November 1st, to give him a chance to make those adjustments that he can now before January 1st, and then come January 1st, when his license is renewed, that's going to be something the board has to take up then.
Will you be coming back in November to check
Yes.
on this?
Yes. So the violations that he has right now are fixable, so that's
Okay.
why I didn't think, tie up the registry and make it go through a hearing.
Sure.
I would just re-inspect him in 30 days, give him a chance to get his stuff in order. But basically, I think he's doing it as a hobby, my opinion, and he'd probably be better off with a wholesale license rather than a retail license.
Sure.
Now he only has to maintain 6 hours a week. The only thing that would limit him on is selling retail. He'd only be allowed to sell wholesale, dealer to dealer. But a lot of the cities and towns are doing that now, because right now, he doesn't meet the definition of principally substantially engaged in business.
Okay. So, Commissioner McCarthy, do you have something?
No, I'm not yet.
So let me ask you this. So when you come back here in November, you're going to write up a report. Can that report be sent to Secretary Wynn for his review?
Yes.
And for this board's review?
Yes.
And at that time, if we need to bring back Mr. Byrne on corrective action, then so be it.
Yes.
You feel that's a proper?
Yes, I think that, 1 month to get these other violations in order shouldn't be an issue.
Okay.
It's more than enough time. Should already be done now.
I appreciate your time.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Mr. Forsley? Mr. Byrne?
Again, I'm just going to assert my position. This is totally premature. He has now given you information that isn't even valid because they're working on getting it resolved.
Okay.
It's if someone came down in the middle of their license and said, without validation that they were in violation. Here's the same thing. You've seen the property personally. That's something that you're going to take up in January, if it comes forward. We have historical information that he was able to use that entire lot.
In all due respect, Counsel, it doesn't seem like it's a very thriving business selling 1 car this year and 2 last year and 4 the year before.
Well, he can stretch a dollar.
Let me speak.
Well, he can stretch $1. No, but seriously.
I agree with you.
I mean, with all due respect, I mean, I think this board is going to do its due diligence and let State Trooper Louise do his report, let it come back to this board. If in fact everything is right and corrected up to his standards, then I think we'll have no problem.
Well, that's good, but that should have been brought in the future. This is all in
Well,
the future.
I think I concur with Commissioner Donahue. I think this is in our purview, and I think we will make a decision come November.
Hi.
All right.
Excuse me, I'd like to just speak about the business in the last several years. I had 2 blood clots go through my heart and put me in a 14-day coma. I should have died on the spot, but somehow I made it to this point, and I've been able to keep going. And I have no other means of support but this license. I don't work for anybody. I don't do anything else. This is mine. I started when I was 25. I'm 69 years old, and I've bothered nobody. I go to work, I do what I can, and I keep to myself. And I have no idea why everybody is all over me. I could sell more cars. I should sell more cars. I haven't been in the best of health, and I'm trying, and I want to be left alone to continue to try. That's all I can tell you.
Okay. I think this board's been clear, Mr. Brennan, what you need to do for corrective action. Does any other commissioners have any comments?
No.
Commissioner Howe?
I just have a comment. I'm a little perplexed at how outraged the attorney is about us calling you in and asking you what's going on with this business. So I'm just a little perplexed at the attitude. I really appreciate the trooper coming in and telling us what is actually going on. Those are my comments.
Well, that's fine, but my position is strictly an issue that this matter is premature. That's my issue. If I showed any outrage, it's...
Okay, we're going to place this on file until we get a report from the state trooper and a report from Secretary Wynn come our second, would that be our first meeting in November? When do you think this report will be completed, State Trooper?
Mr. Chairman, we meet again on November 8th.
And then after that?
November 29th.
So everything by the 29th, you think should be fine? All right, great. So we'll have a report by the 29th and what we need to do. All right, we thank you very much, gentlemen.
Trooper, I think you dropped something on the floor there, right behind you.
Excuse me, can I come in and get the pictures?
Oh, yeah, absolutely, sure.
Okay.
Very much for your courtesy.
Absolutely. Good night, Consul. All right, I'm going to give this to... Oh, yeah. Secretary Wynn, in looking at the agenda items, number 7 is an agenda item concerning bar 74, and agenda item number 9 is concerning bar 74. If we could take 7 and 9 together, because I will be recusing myself from those two agenda items. So we'll hear number 7 and number 9 right after that, all right? So let the record show that I'll be recusing myself at this time.
So it's the preference of the board to start first with the number 8 and 10 items?
No, make 7 and 9.
Okay.
back, and then I'll be back after that.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Chairman Dakota has now recused himself on the vice of legal counsel for the city regarding this item that I'm now to read. Number 7, hearing for LD Holdings LLC, doing business as Bar 74. Chelsea Grove manager, all alcoholic beverages restaurant licensee at 7678 Merrimack Street. manager of record resignation.
Is Chelsea Grove here?
She is not.
Introduce yourself, name and address.
Good evening, Travis Jacobs, 36 Bromfield Street, Boston, Massachusetts.
And what do you have to say about this series of managers of record who keep disappearing?
So I feel as if everybody on the board has been along for this ride, especially with these last two proposed managers, Ms. Grove and Mr. Fecht. We were here, I think, 3 times, with these people being proposed as managers. We went through a lot of trouble to get these people here. My client had provided them $5,000 of travel expenses, which were, relocation expenses, which were to be used for a security deposit and a first month's rent. That's gone. No idea where that's gone to. My client provided and paid for multiple plane tickets back and forth, hotel, found out that there was a huge restaurant and amenities bill that was added to the hotel bill. And after they were approved and they came back, they ended up going to a Red Sox game, they were going shopping, and they worked for 3 days, and then all of a sudden, Ms. Grove had to get back home for a very serious personal matter, which seemed legit. Mr. Fecht went with her as she returned home for this very serious personal matter, and then it was impossible to get them back. The personal matter for Ms. Grove prevented her from returning, and Mr. Fecht continued to make excuses for why he could not return. Ultimately, it was that he wanted a written contract with all the terms drawn up, which we had planned to give him anyway. So for a week and a half, I negotiated with him, trying to get this document done and signed. He had very specific demands. Ultimately, we gave him everything he wanted. Every single item he wanted, he got. And I sent him the final draft, got an email back from him. He said, okay, I'm going to show it to my lawyer, and I'll be in touch. I said, okay, but you need to be back in Lowell by Saturday. Okay, now this was Wednesday. I said, you need to be back in Lowell on Saturday. 2 days went by, and I got the email from Mr. Wynn saying that they had resigned and they weren't coming back. We've never received a notice from either one of them saying that they've resigned and aren't coming back. Don't know where the money is. Don't know if they even paid it to a landlord. They said they did, but we don't know where the address is. And now we're, I'm just telling my client, this is insane. It's totally insane. I don't know what happened. Revolution was closed for Mr. Fecht to take over. It's been closed the whole time. It's been closed for like 2 months, 3 months now. So, his job was to come in, take over with Ms. Grove, and turn these places around. They came before the board and they told the board, we were there for a week and to make sure it was a good fit for us. And then all of a sudden, they're flying back in the disappearing act. I don't know what happened. I don't know. Could have been a complete scam for all I know. I have no idea. Maybe Ms. Grove's personal issue was serious and legit. I don't know the truth. I don't know. Why wouldn't Mr. Fecht come back? I don't know. Were they a package deal? Apparently. But we don't have any answers. None. I have not heard, and I think I was the last person to communicate with Mr. Fecht. I have not heard from him since 2 days before Mr. Wynn emailed me saying that they had notified the city that they had resigned. And prior to that, I don't think my client had heard from Mr. Fecht for over a week because I told her to let me handle it. Because, she could not get him to come back here no matter what. It was just one excuse after the other. So I stepped in, and I thought we had a deal. I thought it was good. He was going to be here on that Saturday. Everything was going to be good to go, and here we are.
Any member have a question?
I have a question for your client.
Sure.
Good evening.
Good evening. Please state your name.
Lauren DeSalvo.
Was David Healy the manager of Bar 74 or Revolution?
Bar 74.
Okay. When did David Healy leave?
March 12th, I think.
March of this year?
Well, the 20th, right? When I found it. Yeah, 2018.
And I recall a hearing, in fact, I rewatched it, that he was here and that he testified that he left in November. And you disagree with that, right?
Yeah, he was working this year.
Right. So he testified to us that he left in November of 2017. And now here we are in October of 2018. You filed an application on April 14th, 2018 for Paul Palladino to be manager of both establishments or Bar 74?
No, just Bar 74.
Right. And I recall Mr. Palladino being here on April 26, 2018. He had vim and vigor, and he was going to come in and change everything around. Do you recall that?
Yes, I do.
And then suddenly, Mr. Palladino writes a cryptic email to Ryan Wynn on May 18th, 2018, stating, "Please be advised that I no longer wish to have my name on the license for Bar 74. When asked by Ryan Wynn if he would be willing to appear before the License Commission at their May 24th, 2018 meeting, he wrote back, "No." Why did he leave? Why did he refuse to be the manager again? I know I've asked you this before.
Well, a few of my bartenders came up to me, 2 female and 1 male, and showed me text messages that he was sending them. They were very graphic in content. I don't want to get into detail because it's their privacy also. If you want to see them, I have screenshots of them. He violated a certain thing that I couldn't handle it. I knew that he was crossing the line and making my female bartenders feel sexually assaulted. And I just had a zero tolerance policy when it comes to exactly that. And I confronted him about it, and he went nuts. Like, he was like, "That's not true." Like, he completely, went belligerent.
So when was that? Was that in May?
That was right after Cinco de Mayo, that weekend.
And did you notify the License Commission of that incident?
Well, I was, but he came and did that first.
You was going to?
Yeah, absolutely.
You were going to?
Absolutely,
Okay.
yes.
But he did it, so you didn't?
No, he sent the note, and then we had to come and talk about it.
Okay. So
just to sort of chime in here, because I'm part of that conversation. So she did contact me and told me about what her employees had alleged, provided me copies of a video, which I'm trying to pull up for you right now so you can see it, as well as an email from one of the employees detailing exactly what happened and providing copies of the text messages. My schedule at that time was super busy. Then all of a sudden, we got the notice that he had already filed his notice to resign, and I said, well, he just beat us to it, and then we showed up for the hearing. So we didn't need to file a notice of resignation. We already knew he had filed his own notice of resignation.
Yeah, I'm not saying you needed to file a notice of resignation, and I don't want to see any of the videos or anything. So who was the next person that you put up for Bar 74?
That would be Chelsea.
Chelsea?
Mm-hmm.
And that application was filed on July 20th, 2018. So that was 2 months after Mr. Palladino had emailed us. You filed another application?
Mm-hmm.
That's a yes? So then we had a hearing where Chelsea Grove came up here, and she was with Joel Feicht, and they had a lot of vim and vigor, just like Mr. Palladino, and they said they were going to turn this place around. And I recall that. Do you recall that?
Yes.
And then this board, in fact, they asked this board, do we have to come back the next hearing? And we said, no, that's no problem. We were trying to accommodate them. We were pleased that you had other applicants. We said, no, no problem. Then Chelsea Lee Grove was approved on August 23rd, 2018. We had a hearing on August 9th. We approved them. The ABCC approved her on August 23rd. Then on August 29th, Joel Feicht writes an email to Ryan Wynn and says, I would like to have my name taken off the liquor license for Bar 74 and Revolution ASAP. I no longer want to work for them. I am back in Ohio as of last Sunday, August 26th. Thank you. So that was August 29th, 2018.
I thought that happened on September 13th.
She's saying that he sent an earlier email.
There's an email,
So
another email came in on September 13th from Joel Feicht, effectively resigning as manager of Revolution and Bar 74. I finally received a contract last Friday, and it was not correct. As I talked to Mr. Wynn weeks ago about the problems and issues I walked into with Revolution and Bar 74 cannot be fixed with this owner and her husband/boyfriend in control. Thank you, Joel Feicht. That's an email that I read September 13th, 2018.
I'm happy to provide the board with all my emails with Mr. Feicht, talking about the contract, negotiating, him about his lawyer.
No, I'm not asking for that.
Well, but it goes to his veracity, right? Because he's claiming now in those letters that there were all these problems that he just couldn't solve. Well, he came before the board, spent a week there, told the board it was a good fit, that's why he spent the week, and then all of a sudden, they get approved and he sends the board this letter. Meanwhile, he's negotiating a contract that he gets every term he wants and disappears?
After I've given
That
him
goes
money.
to the veracity.
I'm questioning your client. September 13th, 2018, Ryan Wynn gets the second email. The first email came in August 29th, 2018. When did you notify the License Commission that Chelsea Lee Grove and Joel Feicht were not going to be managers, either by phone call or email or by your lawyer? When was that notice?
So, I'm sorry, but why would she notify the board when we had just provided him
Can
with a
she answer my question?
Well, but that's not the point, though. Because you're trying to say that she failed to notify the board in a timely manner.
It's not your point, it's my point. I want her to
understand.
answer that question.
But it doesn't recognize the timeline of events.
Can she please answer
she
the
answer the
question, and
question?
then you can explain it to us?
Well, for the record, I have not still gotten a resignation from either one of them. Not a phone call, not an email.
So you haven't sent anything to us about them resigning?
I didn't know
Or
that
not
they,
be.
I didn't know that they resigned. Do you understand what I'm trying to explain? Like,
So-
they didn't tell me.
So,
They
but
were
you-
telling
but
me
you-
they were coming back.
But you know they're not,
Paying them.
but you know they're not up here working, don't you?
Well, they're telling me every day, we're gonna be back by Saturday. Okay.
When's the last time they were here? August 26th?
Yeah, I believe so.
Okay, so they haven't been here since August 26th, and you haven't told anyone on the License Commission that your managers that have been approved haven't been there, either by email, phone, or through your lawyer. You have not told anyone, because I'll tell you right now, Ryan Wynn has all the emails, and I haven't seen an email from you or your counsel.
Well, and I haven't seen any email that you're talking about. So, I mean, I think this is kind of like, you're just putting her on the spot, and that's unfair. If you want us to talk about the emails that you guys received and reviewed, you could have provided that to us before the hearing.
You know what's unfair? The fact that we have had to spend so much time on these bars. That's what's unfair. And it's also unfair, why isn't she answering my question? The answer's no, I'm assuming, because she's not answering it.
I did answer.
She didn't provide notice because we received notice that he and her had resigned from Mr. Wynn before we knew they weren't coming back.
So
Why would we
They were
notify
lying to
the
me.
board of something we had no idea was happening?
So I'd like to show you the application that you filed for Paul Palladino. I'd like you to take a look at that and tell me whether you recognize that.
Yes?
And what is that?
This is his application?
And so that's the application for Paul Palladino for Bar 74 dated August 14th, 2018. Is that true?
Yes.
August?
Wait, no, May.
April 14th.
April 14th, yes.
Drawing your attention to page 3 of the application, under applicant's statement. I'm going to read number 3 and 4. Now, is that your signature at the bottom, by the way?
Yes.
Number 3, I understand that while the application is pending, I must notify the licensing authorities of any change in the information submitted therein. I understand that failure to give such notice to the licensing authorities may result in disapproval of the application. Did I read that correctly?
Yes.
Number 4, I understand that upon approval of the application, I must notify the licensing authorities of any change in the application information as approved by the licensing authorities. I understand that failure to give such notice to the licensing authorities may result in sanctions, including revocation of any license for which this application is submitted. Did I read that correctly?
Yes.
Who is Ty Andrews or Ty Anderson?
He's my ex-boyfriend.
Has he ever worked at Bar 74 or Revolution?
He's helped out quite a bit for me. Oh, no, not a paid employee.
I don't have any other questions of your client. I do have questions of Ryan, but.
Yes, deal with Ryan.
Okay. So, Mr. Nguyen, Mr. Healy was here, and he testified from my memory that he left in November of 2017. Ms. DeSalvo states that he left in March of 2018. Did you ever receive notice from Ms. DeSalvo or her counsel or any agent from Bar 74 that Mr. Healy had left?
No, Commissioner Howe.
Mr. Palladino, he sent you the email in May of 2018 saying that he no longer wished to be with Bar 74. Did you ever receive notice from Ms. DeSalvo, her counsel, or any agent of Bar 74 that Mr. Palladino was not going to be the manager?
No, Commissioner Howe.
Down to Chelsea Lee Groves. Did you ever receive notice from Lauren DeSalvo, her counsel, or any agent of Bar 74 that Chelsea Lee Groves was not going to be the manager of Bar 74?
No, Commissioner Howe.
Okay. I don't have any other question.
Anybody else have any questions? Hmm? Anybody else want to make any comments?
I would just make a comment that I find, whether it be November or March that Mr. Healy left, this establishment has been basically unmanaged for all those months. I don't know how it has gone on. I know it's not open every day, but it's open on evenings, several evenings a week, is my understanding. And I've gone by when evenings when it's been closed and evenings when it's open. But I find that it's truly unmanaged. There is no manager of record for, and has not been, I'm take the sworn testimony of Mr. Healy that he left there in November. I remember he went back to act as security on one occasion, he said. But there have been problems that I think there has to be a manager to resolve. And they're not resolving the problems with almost a manager of record that's there for a week. And I'm very concerned about the stability of the operation. Thank you.
Okay. Counsel, when Mr. Healy was here, we talked about, we had the dispute of when he left. You felt his dates were wrong. But we couldn't produce any payroll receipts showing when he left or when he worked. Am I correct about that?
Yeah, so we've actually had an appeal hearing before the ABCC where Mr. Healy testified, and Solicitor LaGrassa can acknowledge privately his testimony didn't go so well. He was caught in several misstatements, including the statement that he told the ABCC under oath that he actually told Ty Andrews that he resigned from Bar 74 in November of 2017. Yet, the transcript from this hearing, he told the board, standing right here, that he told Ms. DeSalvo as if I was standing this close to her. That's a major false statement right there, under oath in 2 different forums. Mr. Healy is not a credible witness. He also made false statements, we believe, and his statements were inconsistent at the hearing and at the ABCC hearing about when his last day at Bar 74 was, how many days he came back to work at Bar 74 since November of 2017. I'm fully confident that we're gonna succeed on that ABCC appeal because of Mr. Healy's testimony and the inconsistencies between what he said before this board and what he said then. So it was very frustrating to hear the board giving credit to his testimony when it has been thrashed, literally, in a different forum. I understand that the board, I mean, look, if I were you, I would feel the same way. It hasn't gone well, but there are multiple factors in play here. One major factor, like the 2 months between with finding Fecht and Grove, the job market is insane right now. It is impossible to get people to come to work as a manager in Lowell. It is very difficult. So, you know, Ms. DeSalvo has to offer huge salaries. These people were getting paid an obscene amount of money to manage these places. Obscene. I can't even believe it. It's because the job market is so crazy. Mr. Palladino, you think that what he said in his email, that crazy stuff going on? Fine. I got plenty. This gentleman needed to go. He had to be fired. No employer could keep him on the job after what this employer was notified about, period. Couldn't do it. And with these two, we were psyched to have Grove and Fecht on board. They were great. We would have done Ms. DeSalvo would have done anything to keep them. Literally, anything. She would have given them anything to stay and come back. It's insane. If I could explain what happened here with these two people, I would. But I've never seen anything like it. It is completely nuts. And I get it. The board is PO'd. I don't, I understand the sentiment, the frustration. It is not easy. You know, the statute is written with a 30-day time period to provide notice when you believe that a manager is going to depart. Do you know how hard it is to find someone to replace a manager of a bar that you can trust, who's going to be reliable, who's going to accept the salary that you can pay these days? I mean, it's very difficult.
I understand.
Sorry.
So you're talking about an ABCC hearing. What was that hearing about?
So this board issued a suspension for Mr. Healy's, the failure to notify of a change of manager involving Mr. Healy. And we appealed that decision. And so Mr. Healy was subpoenaed to testify before the ABCC board. And Solicitor LaGrassa was there for his testimony, as was Solicitor Gordon on that particular day. And I had an opportunity to cross-examine Mr. Healy, and based on my review of the video of this hearing we had before the board with Mr. Healy's testimony. And I asked him some of the same exact questions that I asked him at that hearing before the board, and his answers were not consistent. And on two very material items, the number of days that he worked at Bar 74 from November to March, and who he supposedly told that he had resigned, were totally different. I don't think you could mistake Ms. DeSalvo for her boyfriend, Mr. Anderson.
I'm sorry, would you repeat that?
You could not mistake Ms. DeSalvo for her boyfriend, Mr. Anderson.
Okay, thank you.
So how did the ABCC rule?
Their decision is pending.
I see.
We had a second day of testimony. I think it was about 3 or 4 weeks ago now.
End of September.
End of September. And several witnesses didn't show up. And so we went forward. I think we completed Ms. DeSalvo's testimony, and we concluded the hearing with closing arguments.
So it seems Mr. Healy is an unreliable, perhaps untruthful person, at least from your conclusions.
My
But
opinion.
when did you guys figure that out? Just a couple of weeks ago, or back in March, or back in November?
So the day of this hearing, we were sitting here, and I forget his name, the officer, the sergeant or lieutenant who sat in that chair, and Chairman Dakota had a back and forth about whether Mr. Healy was at the bar that night of that hearing. And my client thought he was there doing inventory, and Mr. Dakota said, "Are you sure about that?" And so that was the first time that my client had any inclination that Mr. Healy had resigned or wasn't working there anymore. Then, 2 days after that hearing, the Lowell Police Department got Mr. Healy to sign a statement saying that he had resigned in November of 2017. Oh, and by the way, the liquor license wasn't on the wall. They then used that statement to support the alleged violations that Mr. Healy had resigned in November of 2017, and there was no liquor license on the wall. So, I forgot what the question was. So,
yeah, the question was, when did you decide Mr. Healy was
So
no longer a suitable person?
So
By the
the
way,
response was then.
the license
That's
on the
when I
wall, that's important to me, because that's the first indication I have walking into an establishment that the establishment is paying attention. I'm normally nice about it. You've got last year's license up or something like that, but it's important.
Yeah, and I totally agree with you. It's sort of it represents whether someone has their ducks in a row, right? And I totally agree with that point. The perspective that we're coming from, though, is that at one of these hearings, it became clear that the very first violation that this licensee suffered was at the hands of Chairman Dakota reporting dirty beer bottles to the building commissioner and the prior lieutenant. That violation was incurred the day that Ms. DeSalvo got the license from City Hall. Who would know that she picked up the license from City Hall that very day and could coincidentally show up and it's still underneath the bar counter? Who would know that? And then we had the hearing with Chairman Dakota where he acknowledged that he reported to the building inspector and the prior lieutenant that some unknown citizen had reported dirty beer bottles. So that was literally the very first. That's why, from our perspective, we feel like the licensee never had a chance to get off the ground because the prior licensee had all these problems. Ms. DeSalvo wanted to come in and change things around, and from day one, it was a setup.
You notice that Chairman Dakota has recused himself.
Right, because
My feeling is that we've been bending over backwards. But the question is, how do we resolve this? Does anybody have an opinion on the board?
Since your hearing in town at the State License Commission, you've had, what, 3, 4 managers
No.
that you try to hire and never came in? Never reported that to us.
I'm sorry, since when?
Since you were down at the state, you appealed the decision from this board, you've had 3 or 4 managers you hired that we never heard from. We never heard from you.
No, that's not accurate. The only managers that we've had since the ABCC appeal were Ms. Fecht, Ms. Grove and Mr. Fecht.
Palladino.
No, you had the,
But the appeal came after Mr. Palladino's
okay, I'm sorry, I didn't
circumstance.
realize that.
Yeah. But just sort of another
But
point.
my point here is, once we talked to you about this in the past, there's no change here. It's just going on the same way. We're not being notified. There's just absolutely no control over there.
Well, I mean,
That's not true either.
And it's
think I
costing you, it's
understand.
costing your client a lot of money,
yeah,
a lot of money. I understand that.
yeah.
I understand what you're saying about the applications and the craziness that it appears to be, but I've been there every single weekend. I've been in Lowell, and there's been no problems since March, none. I haven't been in here one time.
Revolution hasn't had a violation since February of 2018. And the last violation before the city for the Bar 74 was the March incident with Mr. Healy and the license on the wall, which I believe the testimony at the ABCC hearing showed that it was Mr. Healy who took the license down, wrapped it in a jacket, put it above the fridge, and then reported it to Chairman Dakota that it was off the wall. And then he reported it to the lieutenant. That's how I believe that went down.
Are we kind of skirting along the edge of the history here? I mean, aren't you facing an ABCC hearing with regard to a bunch of underage drinkers?
So interesting point, the ABCC, you mean from February?
No, from a couple weeks ago.
The ABCC has been in Lowell 3 times in the last month. And they've done sting operations throughout the city, including Bar 74 in the last month, 3 separate times. And guess how many times they found underage drinkers in there?
Tell me.
Once. And guess how many? 3, with supposedly real IDs. So,
There was a scan, they were using a scanner, and they scanned valid.
Didn't you have a hearing back, was it February?
yeah,
And you paid a fine there?
correct.
Okay, and now there's another case coming up against you from the ABC for underage
Well,
drinking?
we don't know that for sure, but it's likely that they'll issue a violation for the 3 underage IDs. I don't know whether those people were in fact underage or not. I mean, that's
I don't
my-
either, but-
that's my assumption, because we haven't received any violation. But, I mean, my
Let me-
understanding is
let me
that
check
sting
something
operation
here.
rounded up a ton of people in other bars.
Let me check something. Captain LaFerrier, have you liaised with the ABCC? Do you know about this recent underage drinking issue?
Yes, as far as I know, Bar 74, as well as I believe Dudley's, were found to be, have underage drinkers. And there were hearings being, that the ABCC was going to be holding in regards to those complaints. So I would take it that you're aware that this is a hearing that's coming from the ABCC in regards to the violations.
Yeah, I mean, there probably is, but we haven't received any notice or the
Do
violation.
you have any indication of the number of people alleged?
I believe he's right, that there was 3 in his part, and then I believe it was more on Dudley's part, but there were 3 on that.
Remember how many it was in Dudley's?
I believe it was 7 or 8, something like that, but I'm not
I
positive.
heard there was one bar that had a lot. I don't know which one it was, but.
Mr. Nguyen, have you had a communication from the ABCC?
Commissioner Krieger, the License Commission, the Executive Secretary has not received any communication from the ABC regarding any matter to do with Bar 74 in recent weeks.
Okay.
I'll just, if I may, just point out, so having the ABCC show up in a town in the same sort of bar area in a town 3 times in a month is unheard of. They don't have the resources to do that typically, so that is a lot of times. And 2 out of those times, there was nobody underage at Bar 74. I mean, I think that's actually very impressive, given that it is really difficult to identify. I mean, even the ABCC would acknowledge this, and the investigators. It is really hard to pick out these new IDs. They're from China. They are made with real ID makers, and they have holograms. You bend them. They look completely real, and they pass the scanner. And Massachusetts law says that even if someone has a fake Massachusetts ID, as long as it's a Massachusetts ID, you'll get the presumption that it was valid. You don't get that presumption when it's another state's ID, even though the IDs are just as legitimate looking and pass the scanners. It's a tough game.
I thought we weren't allowed to use out-of-state IDs.
No, you are. You are allowed to use out-of-state IDs.
Mr. Chairman, just to bring back my point, I just checked on when I did have a contact in regards to the ABCC issue, and supposedly, I guess, Bar 74 had 12 counts of violations. Dudley had 1 count of a violation, so that's the more accurate count that I have.
Yeah, I
So,
think that's not accurate.
What you have just said to me is that having scanners is worthless.
No, absolutely not. We got to have the standards. I mean, absolutely. I think the standards are important. It's just, it's like trying to plug a dam with your finger. You have literally thousands and thousands of college students spending oodles of cash to buy IDs that are totally legit, or they may actually be real IDs. They're just their brother or their sister. And, how do you combat that? I mean, think about it like this. Imagine if you're at a bar, okay, and someone comes up and they're overweight and they have short hair, and it's a female. But their ID, they're very thin and have long hair. I mean, what are you going to do? Say, oh, I'm really sorry, but you're a lot thinner in this photo, so can't let you in. Lawsuit. I mean, it's that difficult. I mean, what if there's a whole number of factors that I could run through in today's age, where if you had somebody with a certain face on one ID and they appear as something else, how do you prove whether they are the person in the photo? It is an impossible cat and mouse game. And I personally think that the strict liability standard the state imposes on licensees is totally inequitable. And I think that they really need to revisit this in 2018.
And you've talked to the candidates for the State House in your area?
If I had the time, sir, I would absolutely do that.
It's the only way to change these things.
But
I'm older than you, so I grew up with the story of the little Dutch boy.
That's what I was trying to get at.
And,
Dutch boy.
you got to put your finger in the dike.
Yep.
All right. Anybody else?
I'd like to make a motion, but before I make the motion, I want to talk about my findings. I find that there's been a succession of 3 managers in the past year at Bar 74 that have left the establishment. I find the first manager that left, David Healy, the License Commission found out that he had left as a result of a police complaint in March. I find that we found out that Mr. Palladino and Ms. Grove left from emails from both Palladino and Grove. I find that the Lauren DeSalvo signed the applicant's statement under penalties of perjury that requires her to give notice to the Licensing Commission of any change of management. I find that that's a very important statement because we, as commissioners, need to know who are managing these properties. I also find that the manager of the property, of the bar, is the most important person on site, and the fact that this bar has been really without managers for at least since March is very concerning. I find that there was no notice from the licensee that these managers were leaving to the commission, which is a violation of her signed statement. Therefore, I'm going to make a motion that the license for Bar 74 be revoked.
I'll second that.
Thank you. I think we ought to do a roll call, Ryan.
Before we do it, I'd like to just make a statement.
Please, Joe.
That in fact, I agree with counsel, with Commissioner Howe, and as I said previously, I find that this has been substantially without a manager for months and months and months, and I don't think that can be tolerated. And I know Ms. DeSalvo will say that she's spending all her time here, but it's my recollection you're still living in New York and have to commute here, and you have other obligations in New York, is correct?
I'm ready to, I mean, I have a place to live here. That's,
I think I saw.
everything like that everything that I own is in this business, like everything, so.
I feel that this bar is unattended not professionally run on a day-to-day basis.
If I could just add before we do a roll call, you know, the notice thing, I think there's a little bit too much emphasis being put on it, because very soon after we knew anything, or before we knew anything, the board was already notified. So it just seems superfluous to do a redundant notice and then to justify revocation based on no notice from the licensee, when the board in fact had the notice from the managers of record in Mr. Palladino and Grove and Fecht's case.
I understand what you're saying, and we have a question on the floor we need to deal with. But I would say that LD Holdings needed to have a closer relationship with Mr. Nguyen. Can we have the question?
Commissioner Krieger, Commissioner Howard has made the motion to revoke the license for LD Holdings LLC doing business as Bar 74 Lounge and Grill, and located at 7678 Merrimack Street. Commissioner McCarthy seconded that motion. I believe you asked for a roll call. Commissioner Krieger?
Yes.
Commissioner McCarthy?
Yes.
Commissioner Howe?
Yes.
Commissioner Donahue?
Yes.
Yes.
Passes.
4 yeas.
Captain LaFerrier, would you please be sure to pick up the license tonight if you can?
I'll take care of it.
All right. I think this pretty much erases the issue of number 9, which would be a change of manager, so we could move on to number 8 and recall our chairman.
So the commission will table that matter?
Yeah.
Table, okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Commission will now proceed with item number 8 on our meeting agenda. Chairman Dakota is now returned to the meeting, and he will now proceed with chairing the meeting. Item number 8 is the hearing for LD Holdings LLC, doing business as Revolution Joel Fike, manager, all alcoholic beverages restaurant licensee at 74 Merrimack Street, manager of record resignation.
State your name for the record.
Travis Jacobs, counsel for the licensee.
Floor is yours, Counselor.
So I don't want to be redundant, and I don't know how much you heard in the other room, but just as with Ms. Grove, we had a situation where Ms. Grove reported that she had a very serious personal matter that she had to return home to. She did that. Mr. Fecht returned with her, and then, we were unable to get them back here. We negotiated for a lot. We gave them everything they wanted, and one way or another, they did not return. And the last communication I had with Mr. Fecht was providing him a copy of the written agreement that he wanted with all the terms he had asked for. He emailed me back. He said his lawyer was going to take a look at it. He'd let me know. 2 days later, I got the email from Mr. Wynn saying that they had resigned. That's the first notice we had that they weren't coming back. Every single email communication that we have from them says that they're coming back. We just need to resolve this. Just get this done. Yeah, we're coming back. And then here we are.
Is Mr. Bryan still the manager of record? Is it Sean Bryan?
Who?
No.
No, who is the current?
Joel was to replace
I mean,
him.
before Joel.
That was Sean Bryan.
It wasn't.
Correct.
Sean, up to that point, right? All right. And we have payroll records showing that Sean was employed there?
Yeah.
Until that time? Okay. You can produce those?
I don't have payroll records.
Sean
She would have
Bryan,
them.
yes.
You have that?
I do.
Okay. All right. I'll open up to the floor for commissioners. If not,
If
good,
I
Commissioner
might,
Donahue.
We're talking about the manager for Revolution.
Correct.
What was how long has he been working there, his dates of employment? Can you tell me that?
Mr. Bryan?
Yes.
Mr. Bryan was the manager of record from day one. When we applied for the license in, I think it was December of 2016, he was the person identified as the manager of record, and when he was approved in February of 2017, he was approved as the original manager of record. He's been the manager of record since then, and Ms. Grove was to replace,
Joel Fike was.
or Mr. Fecht was to replace Mr. Bryan.
Did he go off the payroll, Mr. Bryant?
Yeah.
When did he go off the payroll?
I have to look at I have to check with them.
A rough-
Approximately
Yeah.
May. We haven't been open during this, we were open like once during the summer.
Okay, so since May, there's been no manager of record, although you've made attempts.
No, we haven't been open.
You haven't been
He was
open.
there in July for an event that we had, but since then, we haven't opened, so.
May I ask why you haven't been open?
Because I was looking for somebody to manage the entire building. That's why I hired Joel.
Well, Mr. Bryan was the manager of record up until that, though, so again, I ask you, why weren't you open?
Well, because from what I understand, he had an experience of managing a multi-level facility. The club that he was managing in Harrisburg was gigantic. So for him to take some of this, this club over was going to be easy for him. That's what I thought. And I really wanted somebody to take control over it and not to have any problems ever again. And so I found him, and he came out here, and I thought he was a step up, more experienced.
Okay.
That was the reason why I did that.
I mean, I think the short answer, too, is also, we didn't want there to be any violations pending Mr. Fecht's approval as manager of record. We don't want anything to screw that up, so.
Okay. Commissioner Donahue?
Captain, are you aware of the police department that this Revolution has basically been not operating for appears to be an extended period of time? It's just...
Yeah, we haven't had any issues there as of late, so, I'm not sure if that's the reason why, but... we haven't.
All is quiet, Revolution.
Quiet Revolutions.
Okay, thank
May I ask, are you still paying rent? You are?
Yes, I am.
At both locations.
Okay. Any further questions? If not, I would make a motion to place this on file.
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Krieger. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Next on the agenda. Thank you.
Now proceeding with an item to do with LD Holdings LLC, doing business as Revolution. This is item number 10 on the agenda. All alcoholic beverage restaurant license, licensee at 74 Merrimack Street for change of manager record to Lauren DeSalvo of Cortland Manor, New York.
Floor is yours, Counselor.
So, as you all know Ms. DeSalvo very well. She's been through a lot. There's certainly no one that knows these places better than her and has a better vested interest in keeping things moving along and keeping underage people out of the bar and keeping problems from happening at the bar than Ms. DeSalvo. So I personally don't think there's anyone who's going to be more have more attention to detail, have more attention to what's going on there than Ms. DeSalvo. So, she's been essentially running these places, for many months. And I think she'll make a great manager of record. She's kind of had on-the-job experience when it comes to this particular location, not just Revolution, but Bar 74, because she has been up here every weekend for quite a long time. So, and I don't think it's any coincidence that during that time, there really haven't been any violations. It's been pretty quiet, not just at Revolution because it's been closed, but also at Bar 74. And as far as Revolution goes, it hasn't been closed since February 2nd of 2018, and there hasn't been any issues since February. So we've gone almost a year.
Is Ms. DeSalvo still a resident of New York?
She is, but she stays with her grandmother when she's here 4 to 6 times.
And how many days a week is she in Lowell?
I don't know the answer to that.
On average per month, I'd say like 7, 8.
So you're basically here on Fridays and Saturdays, right?
Yeah, well, if I have to come up during the week to meet with my landlord and deal with things in the basement or anything like that, I'm right here.
So is Revolution planning on only being open on the weekends then?
Yes.
You'll be closed on Monday, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays?
Well, given the circumstances that just occurred, I have to
Reevaluate that.
Yeah, I don't really know at the moment, but I know that it won't be open unless I'm there physically, so.
Mr. Chairman, if I may just offer some background on licensing period, not specific to any one particular license holder.
Don't we have to be a resident of Massachusetts?
But the point I'm trying to make is, it's a 7-day license, and its manager record is for 7 days. It's not a 2-day license, it's a 7-day license.
Correct, right. Assistant City Solicitor LaGrassa, does anything prevent us from granting Mr. DeSalvo manager a record from being an out-of-state resident?
I'm not aware of anything in our regulations or in the state statute that would act as a prohibition to that.
Okay. Commissioner Krieger?
Mr. Wynn, are you suggesting that the license would be less expensive if it was not 7 days a week?
The commission, when the application was originally, this application that was filed by LD Holdings LLC in 2016 of December and acted upon by the License Commission in 2017 in January, in which there was a transfer of license from Mill City,
Pub,
pardon me?
Mill City Pub.
And so Joel Asadorian was the manager of record at that time, and that license transferred to LD Holdings LLC, Revolution, is a 7-day license. The commission never set a condition on the license, never saw it otherwise.
But if, in fact, a public hearing was set, the Lowell License Commission can restrict the number of hours.
Provided you're not interfering with the hours of 11 a.m. to 11 p.m.
Correct. Yeah, I understand that, yep.
Okay. I take your point that Ms. DeSalvo is personally invested in the success of this operation. My personal choice was that you, Mr. Jacobs, be made the manager of record.
I appreciate your faith in me, Commissioner.
No, it's, I think you understand how serious we are about this. I defer in case anybody has anything to say before
I said it when we first gave out the licenses, that I had a very difficult time with giving a license to an owner that was not at the premises 24/7. And I always use myself as an example, having owned an establishment, that it is a 24/7 job. And I have a problem unless Mr. Salvo is there all the time and living in the city of Lowell, had vested interest, that I would approve her to be manager of record. I'm sure she's a hard worker. I've never seen her in the establishment, but she's, as she says, she's can put her life savings in here, but as someone who's run an establishment, I know what it takes, and there's just no way. And I think that's been proven. It really has been proven. You have not been here to oversee your establishments, and your manager records, unfortunately, have not panned out. And that's just my point of view, and I will not be voting in the affirmative on this. Any further comments?
Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner McCarthy.
Go ahead.
I agree with the chairman. I think if you're not going to be here on a full-time basis in the city, I can't support that.
Commissioner Donahue.
As you remember, when this came up for an initial vote to issue the licenses to Ms. DeSalvo, I was one of the affirmative votes. I put a lot of faith in the presentation that came from both council and from Ms. DeSalvo. And let me say that I've been disappointed and have wondered about that vote. I thought it was a good story of wanted to make good, wanted to do something, and wanted to be a success. And unfortunately, it's a hard business to be in, and I believe that it hasn't worked out well. And I don't think that Ms. DeSalvo ability to be the manager as well as the owner is something that I could support. At this time, I won't be voting in favor of Ms. DeSalvo as the manager. Thank you.
Could I make a motion?
No.
Let me see if anybody else has any comments. Mr. Jacobs. Commissioner Howe? No? Is everybody? Commissioner Krieger?
I think part of this hinges on where Mr. Salvo is head sitting the pillow. And I think that a commitment to become a Lowellian, or at least a suburban of Lowell, would be very important.
Mr. Jacobs, go right ahead. You had something to say?
So I wonder if I could, given what happened with Bar 74, I'm wondering if I could make a motion to reverse the applications and put Mr. Torres forward for Revolution. he's been the security manager, since, I think, March at this point. He's a very capable guy, very good attention to detail. He has been doing security as a company for quite a long time, I think 4 years now.
Well, the meeting was posted, so we won't be able to change the agenda item. If you'd like to bring your applicant forward at our next meeting, you're sure to do that. I will say, sitting in this chair, that's 3 bites out of the apple here, okay? I understand Mr. Fight was an excellent applicant,
It was.
and I don't know what happened. But something was not right on either side, and it just didn't work out, I get it. Mr. Bryan, he didn't want to be the manager of record anymore.
No, he was good. I like Sean a lot. He's a good person. I had no problems with him. I wanted to improve the building. That's all I wanted to do. I wanted to have somebody
All right.
super experienced. That's all I wanted to do. And Sean knew that. I mean, like, I really wanted to change everything about it, not just little things. And that's why I went to Joel. And
And the board wanted a superstar, and he had a superstar resume.
Yeah, he absolutely did.
Yeah.
We'll see your applicant in 2 weeks.
Okay.
Any other further comments from the board?
We'll just withdraw the application and refile.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
thank you.
So, Mr. Chairman, Revolution will remain closed indefinitely?
Mr. Jacobs?
I
mean,
I don't think that was the plan.
So who is going to be overseeing the establishment?
I'm here.
You're here 2 days a week.
No.
All right, so are you telling me that your Revolution will be closed Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays? You'll be here on Friday and Saturdays, Revolution will be open. Is that what you're telling us?
Yes.
Okay.
And I'm pretty sure Jeff is going to be there too, so.
This makes sense.
Can I say something? Is that?
Let's save it for next time.
Yeah, why don't we do that? Why don't we just save that to next time?
All right.
Under those conditions, Mr. Salva, are you agreeable to that?
There's no manager of record.
There's no manager of record.
But even though there's no manager of record, we still have to give them, and if Assistant City Solicitor LaGrasso agrees or disagrees with me, please chime in. But under the ABCC guidelines, we have to give them a certain amount of time to find another manager of record. Is that correct?
I believe the statute calls for 30 days upon notice that.
Correct,
Yes.
right. So we will see them in 14 days. When's our next meeting, Ryan?
Scheduled for November 9th. So I guess the question is, then, the business can resume operation.
On Fridays? All right, now my next question is, because I don't want to get into legal trouble here. The owner of the establishment will be there on Friday and Saturdays, and that's the only time we'll be open. Is that okay?
I'm not aware of anything that would prevent that.
Up until our next meeting where we make a decision if there's their applicant is going to be the next manager of record. As long as the owner is there to oversee the operation 2 nights a week, that she's saying she's going to be for the next. So basically, Revolution will be open 6 days until our next meeting.
I'm not aware of anything that would prevent that.
All right, do any of the commissioners have any other comments concerning that? I don't want to.
Yeah, I want to be clear that Mr. Salvo is there, then it opens. And if they want to do it 3 days a week, she has to be there 3 days a week.
Absolutely.
No exceptions. If you fall down and break your leg, have them set it at Revolution.
Got it.
Mr. Chairman, one other matter, just I don't know if it's a necessity to clean up on that motion that was made, that we were not going to approve Mr. Salvo. Oh, no one made the motion,
No,
okay.
it was withdrawn.
It was withdrawn.
The application was
I
withdrawn.
thought someone had said.
So I just want to make sure from a legal standings that, if the timetable is 30 days, LD Holdings has 30 days to get a manager of record. November 9th is our next meeting, which is in 3 weeks. Is that 3 weeks?
Yeah.
All right, and we'll make a decision at that point. So I
Correct.
just want to make sure we're within our parameters, yeah?
Based on my understanding, we are.
All right, I thank you very much. Do any other commissioners have any final thoughts? Thank you very much.
Can I just raise 2 quick points? One is really just administrative. I'm out of town on the 9th of November. I have a flight out of town. There's no way I can be here. I mean, I can prepare Mr. Torres before that. Just don't be too rough on him without me here. Okay, thank you. The second item is, and I don't mean to overstep, I hope I'm not, but is it possible to reopen 9 and 11 and discuss maybe some longer-term suspension, stipulated agreement proposal?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to suggest that there be a reapplication for the new year, that we show an open mind about a reapplication for the new year.
Are you making that in a motion?
If I need to, I do. Yes, sir.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Seconded by Commissioner McCarthy. Roll call.
Let me just
With
get
all
the
due
point.
respect, I wanna
of
make
the
sure,
motion
'cause
to
it-
keep
'cause-
an open mind? Is that the motion?
No,
To keep
the
an open
motion
mind?
is are you asking for them to reapply?
I'm saying we will entertain a serious reapplication for the new year.
For what,
With the manager of record and the whole enchilada.
for
with
what
a plan.
establishment? For what manner?
For Bar 74?
Item 7,
Bar 74?
yes.
To review that at the first of the year?
No, that they make an application.
I think the way it needs to be.
I think,
formatted
I don't
with all due
think-
respect to the commission, I would refer to the law department on a review on the matter that you have just voted to revoke
Right.
the liquor license for Bar 74.
Yeah,
And I believe statute has something to say about that.
all right, I'm willing to hear this.
I mean, certainly, legal counsel or the license holder has a right to appeal any action of the License Commission to the Alcohol Beverages Control Commission, and I would be very...
I need to stop you for a minute. I think I need to recuse myself here again. Assistant City Solicitor LaGrassa?
Yes, if we're back to talking about the status of Bar 74's license and that revocation, then yes.
Yes, thank you.
Just waive it. We could just waive it for this discussion. I'll just waive it. Just waive it. If I can just chime in, I think from the law perspective, that the meeting hasn't closed, so theoretically, you could revisit that issue. I don't know if you have any opposition to that. But what my proposal would be, I think the idea of having a reapplication in the new year is a good one. The thing is, I think procedurally, you would need to propose a 2.5-month suspension, right, going for the rest of October, November, December, because if you revoke and then reapply, it's a total chaotic nightmare. To do the suspension, and I think the law department and us could enter into a stipulated agreement where we would accept, a ruling like that and waive appeal. I know that's been done previously in other matters.
Mr. LaGrassa?
Well, at this point, there has been a vote. I think that if there's going to be a change to that, there would need to be some new motion, and it would need to be voted on by the commission.
So I think Commissioner Krieger made a motion to do just that.
Actually, I'm not in favor of a 2.5-month suspension. I like the revocation. It's nice, solid, definitive, cuts it off. I just say that if somebody came up with a plan and a person
The problem is that anybody
that
could
I could
apply
look,
tomorrow.
I would be willing to listen to that after the 1st of January. But that's just me. If I need to put that in the form of a motion, I am happy to do that.
I'm
Commissioner Krieger is presiding.
I'm lost at words here because a vote was taken, the license was revoked.
It was.
If they would like to reapply in the upcoming next year, so be it. This is something that shouldn't be brought up at tonight's meeting.
Right, I don't think there needs to be a vote on an application. They're free to file whatever application,
So-
and then when that comes before the board, then it can be
So
addressed.
be it. So if they want to do that for a new license for January, as long as it's the applications by December 30th, then so be it. But until then, the license has been revoked. Let's move on.
If I might just say, I wouldn't agree with the chairman, with Mr. Krieger, Commissioner Krieger, and I think council knows what to do. He'll be in Boston, I would suspect, by morning, or have some paperwork in Boston, and they may be open Friday night. But that, I think, is the cleanest and the most appropriate way to handle this.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a nice night.
Thank you, you too.
Okay. Next on the agenda.
Proceeding with number 11, we have an application by Brewed Awakening Coffee House, Inc., doing business as Brewed Awakening Coffee House, Andrew Jacobson, president, for an all-alcoholic beverages restaurant license for premises at 61 Market Street, Unit 1A. Respectfully request the publication of a legal notice on this application for the date of October the 26th, a Friday, in the Lowell Sun newspaper, and if the board is so inclined to ratify, make a motion to public hearing date for the next meeting, which is November the 9th, 2018. Abutters are to be notified by the applicant. I'm sorry, November 8th, 2018, and abutters are to be notified by the applicant, and in addition, a church, schools, or hospital within 500 feet.
Motion by Commissioner Howe, seconded by Commissioner Donahue, schedule a public hearing on next scheduled meeting. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, motion carries. Next.
Secretary's report, Gabby Davis had been granted a special one-day license for beer and wine for an event at Kerouac Park that was dated for the September 28th. Apparently, circumstances out of her control, she could not find a suitable bartender, so she did not take that license.
Motion by Commissioner Krieger, seconded by Commissioner McCarthy to place it on file. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Any opposed, motion carries. Motion to adjourn by Commissioner Krieger, seconded by Commissioner Howe. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Everyone, have a nice evening.